Hello everyone, my name is Andrew. Today we'll continue learning IT, and today we'll talk about Elasticsearch. So what is it, why do we need it, and how do we use it? Let's start. Elasticsearch is a database from Elastic Corporation that allows you to search for data. So basically that's it. Elasticsearch allows you, that's not Elasticsearch, here it is. It allows you to search for some specific data. So it's basically a database that allows you to search for stuff. So why do we need it and how does it work? So search for stuff, what do I mean by that? Imagine that we have an actor, a server, and a database. So our actor is searching for some stuff in a web shop, for example. We're looking for apples. We write our search query as search app. So as you can see, the whole word apples is not present. We only have app. We send it to the server, and server typically sends it to the database. So we have that select all from our products, for example. So select all from table if we're talking about relational databases and SQL. We have something like db.where, db.filter, db.search. So we basically search the data in our main database where the real records are stored. And that can be great. However, our users expect a very advanced searching techniques, a very advanced search itself. And because of that, we may not have each type of request or each so we may not have as extensive search as we need for our users. So when I'm searching for app, I can get all the products that start with app, but maybe I want the products that look like app. Maybe I want the products that match app or something like that. So the search in the database may not be as advanced as in other products, and that other product is Elasticsearch. So let me quickly get an icon, Elasticsearch. It's not the real icon, so you can see it here, that E icon, so Elasticsearch, but that one is from Amazon, and Amazon allows you to deploy Elasticsearch services, so I'm just going to write Elasticsearch here. So once again, the problem is that our database does not have as advanced search as our clients want to, because when you type something in Google, you probably know that Google will allow you to see all of the results, so we'll give you some hints, and those hints will allow you to look for the queries that other users are looking for. Then Google can predict your queries, Google can do a lot of stuff. And we want to achieve the same capabilities within our program. We can do it with a database, because it's going to be really, really complicated, and maybe the database cannot support our queries. So there is no support, because the database itself was not designed to serve our advanced search. But what we can do is add Elasticsearch. So our server will be connected to Elasticsearch and our database. So the database does not go anywhere. We just add Elasticsearch in our application. And what we're going to do next, whenever we have a new product, so a new record that may be used in the search in the future. So let's imagine that we have our web shop and we have products that are added by admins. So imagine that admin adds our product, and that product is an apple. So admin adds an apple. If we have an Elasticsearch, we need to copy that apple from our database to Elasticsearch. So basically what we're going to do is when our admin, so in that case it's going to be an admin that adds an apple, when he or she is going to add an apple to the server is going to save that apple in the database and in Elasticsearch. There is a really big difference, because we're going to store all the data that we need inside of the database. So cost of our product category, our product name, our product description, and all that stuff. But Elasticsearch is only going to have the fields that are going to be used inside of search. So if I'm going to look for my product titles, I'm going to save my titles in Elasticsearch. And aside from that, Elasticsearch needs some kind of unique identifier for your record. So if our apple has ID 1 inside of our database, it's a great idea to add ID 1 inside of our apple in Elasticsearch. So that's how it works. So basically, our server will send 2 requests instead of 1, to save our record in the database and to save our record in Elasticsearch. Okay, then what we're going to do is when our user, so in that case it's going to be a normal user, is going to send a request that is going to search for app, we're not going to go to our database, we're going to go to our Elasticsearch. So that request is going to go to server, then to Elasticsearch. And we can clearly see that Elasticsearch has a document that looks like Apple. So with Elasticsearch, we can apply millions of techniques on how to build our search queries, what to look for, and how to sort them. Aside from that, we can tokenize our queries, so split them to different words, find stop words, do all sorts of stuff. So Elasticsearch is a really big technology, and it's basically a separate database. So we can do a lot of stuff, but the main idea is that Elasticsearch is designed to search for your records. And what we can do in that case is look at that. Okay, search is app. Many users wrote their searches or chose that app is looking like Apple. So Apple, app, it looks fine. We can build our queries so our Elasticsearch understands what we're looking for, and then we can return that result from Elasticsearch to the user. And as you can see, inside of that Apple, we have ID 1. And then the user is going to say, all right, I'm going to look at that Apple, and if our user wants to interact with the record itself. So we returned our Apple from Elasticsearch to the user. But if we want to interact with that product, so we want to read its cost, we want to read its description and all that stuff, what we can do is basically send a get request to, so get products from ID 1. And then our server will get that record from the database and send it to the user. So that's how it works. Whenever we search for the stuff, we go to Elasticsearch. Whenever we change the stuff or work with our objects in general, we go to the database as we used to. So the only thing that changes is that you have an Elasticsearch, you copy the data to the database and Elasticsearch when you add your records, and the data that is stored in Elasticsearch is only used inside of that search. So you don't need to store your cost, your the things that are not going to be used in search 100%. You're not going to need to store them in Elasticsearch because that's basically useless. You have them in the database. And after that, if we want to work with our object, we're going to go to the database. That's how it works. So the idea is really, really basic. But why do we need it? Once again, because if our search is really advanced, Elasticsearch may help us with those things, because Elasticsearch is a really, really, really advanced system. It has extensive queries. It has millions of things inside of it. So Elasticsearch is really, really, really great. And if you want me to create a video on it, just write it down in the comments. So if your users expect your search capabilities to be very, very, very advanced, then maybe it's a good idea to get Elasticsearch. So if you cannot perform all of your queries from your database, get Elasticsearch. That's basically the whole idea of why do we need to use that database. But there are some problems. The first problem is that, of course, it's a database. It's a separate technology, and you need your people to know it. So if your team does not know what Elasticsearch is, then it's going to be really tough for you to incorporate it in your structure. Aside from that, you can see that we copy our data. So we copy our data from the database to Elasticsearch. You may say that, oh yeah, we're going to pay for it, but the data itself is not my main concern. Because right now, we're not paying as much as we used to in order to store our data on the servers. So the data is not, or the storage of the data is not as expensive as it used to be. But the real problem is synchronization of the data. Because imagine that we have our Apple inside of Elasticsearch, but we don't have it in the database. If our user is going to send a search request to our server, it's going to go to Elasticsearch, and we may return Apple as the result. But if that Apple is not present in the database, we may run into some problems. If our Apple will, for example, have ID as 10, but ID 10 is for peer here, so we may have inconsistencies in our data. Aside from that, we need to think about when our data is deleted, so deletion of our data, addition of our data, updates for our records, and all that stuff. So synchronization of data is really, really important, and you're basically doing it on the server. So what you can do is open up a transaction in your database, save your record to the database and Elasticsearch, and then close your transaction. It may help you, but each project is different. So in some projects, it's not as it depends on your project, but I'm personally opening up a transaction in my database, so in my main relational or NoSQL database, and then I add my record to the database and to Elasticsearch. If something fails, both of those records are deleted. So that's one of the examples, but you need to keep your data consistent. That's very, very important. But it is with every system. Another concern is that you have Elasticsearch as a separate service, and typically you're not going to have one node. So you're not having one node of a database, you're not going to have one instance of your Elasticsearch. You're probably going to have 3, 4, 5, or even more. Depends on the program that you're working with. And the problem is that Elasticsearch itself may cost a lot of money. I'm not sure what's the current price for it on AWS or on other platforms, but it may cost you a lot of money. It may. And that's basically how it works. So Elasticsearch adds some problems, like you need to monitor it, you need to secure it, you need to set it up, you need to improve your code, or change your code, sorry. You're not going to improve it, but you're going to change it. In order to incorporate Elasticsearch, you need to monitor your servers, you need to pay for them, and all that stuff. However, the pluses are that your database is not as, or your users are not as reliant on your database capabilities as they used to be. Because Elasticsearch may allow you to search for your queries can be as advanced as you wish them to be. So kind of like that. So yeah, I said advanced a lot of times. That's basically the whole idea. But I want to say that if your project has not yet ran into the problems that your search is quite awful, then you don't need an Elasticsearch, because major databases like PostgreSQL, Oracle, or other databases can perform the required search queries that you wish if your project is small enough. So Elasticsearch is a huge responsibility in terms of everything, in terms of monitoring, security, and all that stuff. So what you can do is try to write your queries in your database first. And then if you really can't do them and your search is very important, very, 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 very crucial for your program, then of course you can add Elasticsearch. But be sure not to add Elasticsearch when you don't need it at all, because major databases can perform very complicated queries nowadays. But if you can do it, of course Elasticsearch is your choice. But you need to think about all the other stuff that I told you before. And that's kind of the whole idea. So Elasticsearch is a search database. It's, by the way, an NoSQL database that uses REST API in order to work with the data. So you're not supposed to, but probably you can use Elasticsearch as your main database, because it has update, save, delete, and search capabilities. So basically it's a NoSQL database that uses REST API, but you're not supposed to use it as your main database. However, you can do it. Elasticsearch is a great technology. If you want me to create a video on it, then a real video with Python, how to connect it and all that stuff, then just leave the comment down below. But for now, that's it. Thank you for watching. My name is Andrew. Subscribe to my channel, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye bye.